to day 2 of the business superpower training. So this is a 3-part training. Yesterday I did day 1 where we talked all about your business superpower. And today we are talking all about your archetype. I call it your Soulfulpreneur Archetype. So this is based on your soul calling, what your soul is calling you to do. And I started talking about this because over the last couple of years I've been working with different female entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs, intuitives, people who felt like they wanted to create a heart-centered business. There was a lot of discussion around feeling called to transition into this new thing, feeling like you wanted to make an impact, feeling like you wanted to do work that was really meaningful, but not really sure what this work looked like. And so I want to dive into the 7 archetypes that I've discovered that have come up pretty consistently over the last couple of years to help you connect to what yours might be. So if you have a journal handy, I would encourage you to get one out. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about each one because I go into a little bit more in my program called Super Soul Startup, which is open for early enrollment right now. It's a business and branding immersion program. And so I want to help kind of just get your mind kind of stirring and see which ones really relate to you. So if you are new to me, welcome. My name is Nadia. I am a soul startup coach. I am the foundress of a company called Working Women Wellness, which is all about helping women go from feeling very disconnected, feeling like they're in a career or even running a business where they feel burnt out, they feel overwhelmed, to transitioning into the work that they're meant to do. And I'm also an author. I live on Maui. And so like I said, we're going to dive into these archetypes. And I would invite you to get a journal out. I'm just going to kind of touch on each one a little bit briefly, and then we can talk about them a little bit more. Be sure to leave any comments, any questions that you might have, even if you come to this video later. And so the first archetype, and this is the archetype that I connect to the most, and the one I feel like I attract most to myself. Most of my clients are also this archetype, and it's the teacher archetype. I like to call it the soulful teacher. So the really beautiful thing about the teacher archetype, it's really about taking the knowledge and the insights and the experiences that you already have, that you already know right now, and teaching them to people that need to hear what you have to say. And I think a lot of times when we think about the teacher archetype, we think about traditional teachers, elementary school teachers, high school teachers, and it's not necessarily the same. There's obviously similarities. If you feel called to be a teacher, you could definitely work in the educational space, but it's more about anyone who feels called to share what they know. And you don't necessarily have to be a traditional teacher. You can be a teacher in a way that feels the best to you. And so most of my clients that I work with, they want to be a teacher in the online space. So they want to create courses, digital offerings. They feel called to coach. And one thing that I want to know is the word coach, I feel like, kind of throws us off a little bit if we feel like we are spiritual entrepreneurs or we feel like we have something more to say, because there's a lot of stigma, I think, with the word coach. But honestly, the word coach and the coaching industry is just kind of the best, I would say, arena to kind of put yourself in when you're creating something online. But when you connect back to your archetype, it just makes it a little bit more unique to you. So you don't feel like you're just creating something like everyone else in the coaching space. The next archetype is the creative, and I love to call it the thriving creative. And so this is a person that has lots of ideas. You are multi-passionate. You're someone who can really take an idea and bring it to life. You can turn it into something tangible. And so some of you might be called towards this creative archetype if you are a content creator. You want to create a lot of different content on Instagram, or maybe even create a YouTube channel. You feel really called to create a business and a brand that offers a variety of different products, not just one, because you have tons of ideas. And so the creative is something that when you're looking at creating more of a coaching business or a course business, you're going to create a couple different offerings and packages that sort of play off of each other. And they're all under you. You are essentially your niche, but you have these offerings under the creative archetype. And so really, as we dive into this further in my program, Super Soul Startup, it really is about creating this business and brand that's unique to you and your archetype. So you're not just creating a business and a brand that's based on sort of the traditional way that you're supposed to be doing it. It's really creating it unique to you. So creative, if you feel called towards this, especially if you're multi-passionate, you probably have a bunch of different ideas. This is definitely your archetype. The next archetype is the artist. And I like to refer to it as the abundant artist, because I feel like the the artist stereotype and stigma is very much about the starving artist and the artists that want to do their work full time, but they can't because they have to do all these other things. And I just really want to squash that, because I really do feel like you can be abundant as an artist. And an artist is someone, it's a little bit different than a creative, because as an artist, you're creating something that really speaks to you and speaks to your heart. And you're not necessarily creating it to get it finished really quickly like the creative. You're not really taking it from idea to fruition. It's more of this process that you're going through. And so you can really share this through different offerings in the online space that are in the digital space that maybe you're creating over the long term, or you can also create it as physical products as well. The next one is the healer. And I refer to this as the elevate the healer. And I feel like a lot of people, when I've told people that healer is their archetype, they immediately think that they need to be a doctor or a naturopath. And that's not necessarily the case. A healer is someone that can really kind of look at an overall situation that you're in and really help you go from feeling kind of disconnected from it, or feeling like you're not doing it in the best way, to feeling very abundant and really good about what it is that you're doing. The next is the intuitive, the inspired intuitive, and they are really focused on their inner knowing. They are really guided back to themselves. A lot of times when I come up to people who are intuitives, they have gotten disconnected from this gift. This can also be considered a superpower. They've gotten disconnected from it. And it's just really because they're looking externally for the answers. But once you connect back in, knowing that all the answers are within, you can really strengthen this as your calling, and you can help other people, other intuitives, connect back to their inner knowing as well. It's a really powerful calling to have. And then the next two, 6 and 7, they're slightly different, but there's some similarities, and it's the leader. So we have the divine leader, and then we have the spiritual leader. So the divine leader, I kind of touched on a little bit yesterday when I was talking about superpowers. And the divine leader I see in two camps. It's usually the feminine leader and the masculine leader. So if you didn't watch yesterday, I would encourage you to go watch it, because I dive a little bit further into it. But essentially a leader is someone who is a master at something. They are really magnetizing people to them just by being themselves. And they're really focused on looking internally how they want to present themselves to the world, regardless of what other people think about it. I feel like this is, next to the teacher, probably the most archetypes that I call into my space. Most, especially women, I would say more than 80% of the women that I work with have the leader archetype, or the superpower, the leader in their within their calling, within their work, but they don't necessarily feel like they're being a leader. So this is something that I really feel strongly to help change, because I feel like we do need a lot of more feminine leaders, divine feminine leaders, in doing this work in the coaching industry, in the online space. And so the last one, which I said kind of goes with leader as well, is the spiritual leader. So spiritual leader is kind of the same thing, where you are a master, but it's really about focusing on bridging the spiritual and the practical, which I also touched on this a little bit yesterday. We're really looking at the practical things we can do, the strategy, but then we're also looking at the spiritual. And so you have this really beautiful connection between the seen and the unseen. And you do feel called towards spiritual entrepreneurship, towards doing this work where you want to help people connect more to a higher purpose, not just creating a business to create a business, but creating something that is really going to make an impact and leave a legacy. So I'd really love to know, comment down below, or you can even send me a message, a private message if you don't want to share it publicly, and let me know which of these resonate. Usually what I find is that there's one main archetype that you're drawn to, but there might be even a second or a third that you also feel connected to that are sort of your sub-archetypes. And this is something that we dive into deeper in the Super Soul Startup program. So I help you create your Soulfulpreneur archetype based on what your soul is calling you to do and based on your superpower. Tomorrow, day 3, which is the final day of this training, we're going to talk all about your story, your soul-led story, and really talk about how you can infuse this into the work that you're doing, into your business and your brand, because this is really what helps you connect with others. It's really about sharing your story and helping other people through the experiences that you already have. So especially if you're feeling called, but you don't know what your business and brand should be about, I am telling you, when you look at your superpower, your archetype, and your story, all these things together is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times we just feel disconnected from it because we're looking external. And it's so easy to do with social media. We're always looking at all these other things and what other people are doing. But when you connect back to your own unique archetype, like I just said, like I just went over, it really is powerful in the business space. And it really does help you to connect with people that need to hear what you have to say. So I hope that you found this helpful. Like I said, I'd love to connect with you, so be sure to leave me a comment. I am opening early enrollment for Super Soul Startup, so I'll also have that linked below so you can go and check it out. You can book a deep dive with me so I can learn more about you and where you are right now. If you are in a career where you feel like you need to transition into your business, but you're not really sure what that is, or even if you're in a business right now and you started that business to make money and you're doing really well and you're successful, but you're like, this is not it. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This happens a lot, and it's okay. It's totally normal. You're not off path. Just let me know. Comment down below. Go check out Super Soul Startup. I'd love to have you. And be sure to follow along for tomorrow for the last day of the Business Superpower Training. Hope you enjoyed. Have a beautiful day.